We're back. I Love Oldies with your host, me, Bill Jones, and I have a very special guest on the phone line with us, I think from New Jersey. He'll tell me if he's not in New Jersey right now. You'll recognize him by some of his great songs, Crystal Blue Persuasion, Crimson and Clover, Mony Mony, I Think We're Alone Now, Hanky Panky, Dragging the Line, Sweet Cherry. It goes on and on. You know I'm talking about Tommy James. Tommy James has 23 gold singles, 9 platinum albums. I could go on and be out of breath. Tommy, thanks for taking time to be with us.
Great to be with you. How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Just fine, thanks.
Okay. My very first question for you is a big controversial question.
Uh-huh.
What is a chandelle?
Oh, boy. That's a tough one. Well, it just happens to be the name that I made up in study hall, believe it or not, back in high school for the name of my group. But it just sounded musical. It sounded a little effervescent. Anything back then with an ELLS on the end was fair game. Turned out later that the word chandelles is a French word that means an airplane maneuver. But hey, who knew?
Okay. Well, I got another question for you. I'm going to get to that later, and that's Mony Mony, but let's get to that a little bit later. One of my all-time favorites, and my producer wants to ask you one question because he loves your song, Dragging the Line. He'll ask you that later on, but one of my favorite songs is Crystal Blue Persuasion. What a beautiful song.
Thank you.
How did you come up with that? I mean, what's the process?
Well, Crystal Blue Persuasion actually was, you're always, when you're writing songs, you're always looking for an interesting song title. So we were doing, this is back in 1969, we were doing a show in Atlanta at the college. And after the show, this real nerdy kid ran up to me and with a piece of paper and said, "Listen, Tom, you got to read this. Just take it with you." Okay, I said, "Okay." So,
hey, I was there.
Again. he had written a poem called "Crystal Persuasion," and I thought, well, that's an interesting kind of a visual title. So we stole the title from him and went back to the hotel that night and wrote it. And we needed an extra syllable in there, so I just picked the word blue. That's just how impromptu and crazy the title came into being. And then we went and into the studio and recorded it the next week. And I wrote it that night with Mike Vale and Eddie Gray, two of the Chandelles. And it turned out to be one of the hardest records we ever made. Crystal Blue Persuasion, we completely overproduced it. We spent about 3 weeks working on the record, and we just completely overproduced it, and we spent the next 3 weeks unproducing it and pulling out everything. We pulled out a set of drums, we pulled out the guitar, we pulled out the keyboards, and we had to, all that was left was a bongo drum and a flamenco guitar, and that seemed to work. So we had to let the song breathe to make it Crystal Blue Persuasion, the song that we wrote, and put it out as a follow-up to Sweet Cherry Wine, and it worked. So what can I say? Thanks for that one.
So you stole that from me. I was at that concert, and no,
Was that you?
That was that. I was the nerdy guy. Yeah. Then I have to follow that up with Mony Mony. Now, where did you? I think I know the answer, but where did you get the term Mony Mony?
Well, we had been working on a sort of a throwback party rock song, like Mitch Ryder or Gary U.S. Bonds, one of an old-fashioned party rock song, and so it was we had written the words to it. We had a sort of nonsensical kind of a lyric to it, and we had no title as of the night before I was going to go in and do the lead vocal. So we needed a two-syllable girl's name, and so Richie Cordell, my songwriting partner, and I were writing up at my apartment in New York, and everything we came up with sounded so dumb. So we threw our guitars down, went out on my terrace, and lit up a cigarette, and we look up at the nighttime sky in New York, and the first thing our eyes fall on is the Mutual of New York Insurance Company building, MONY, with the dollar sign in the middle of the O, and it gave you the time and the weather, and we just started laughing because that was the perfect name. I've often said if we had been looking in the other direction, Mony might have ended up being called Hotel Taft. We were really, really desperate. So anyway, that's how it happened. It was the Mutual of New York Insurance Company building.
There you go. Your press agent sent me some great background information on you, and I see your music has been featured in more than one. I didn't know this. More than 100 movies, TV shows, and commercials. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a few? I'm trying to think, but I love your music, but I can't think of. Can't think of them.
Well, let me help you.
Okay.
Well, of course, Billy Idol had a #1 record with Mony, and Tiffany was right alongside of him, going up the charts with I Think We're Alone Now. And, Dolly Parton did Crimson and Clover, and Prince did Crimson and Clover. And Dragon Line was from the Austin Powers movie, The Spy Who Shags Me, by R.E.M., and Santana did Crystal Blue. And it's been really, I'm very flattered and honored that other artists do our songs, and that keeps them on the radio and keeps things going.
You know, I'm one of your big fans, of course. You have millions of them, and I didn't know this. Carol told me, or she sent me an email telling me this, that, what was it, 68 and 69, or 69 and 70, you sold more records than anyone else in the world, including the Beatles.
Well, that was singles, not albums, yes. That is true, 68 and 69.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you.
How are sales going? Do you know how your concert is? Your concert selling well here in Denver? I would imagine so.
Yeah, we're going to be at the Paramount Theater, and I look out at our concert crowd now, and I literally see 3 generations of fans, and it's really an amazing sight. And the fans have sort of become like extended family, and we've been doing this for so long. And so I'm very, very appreciative. I never thought in 1966 that we'd be doing this in 2023. Never in a million years. So it's really a great honor and a great thrill to have the fans aligned with us as long as they have been.
I see your book, your autobiography, Me, the Mob, and the Music, is going to be made into a movie. Can you tell me what's going on there?
Well, Me, the Mob, and the Music is basically an autobiography with about 3/4 of it devoted to our very crazy and tumultuous and scary relationship with our record company, Roulette Records, and the label we had most of our hits on. And the reason it's tumultuous and scary is because, unbeknownst to us, when we signed with Roulette, Roulette was, in addition to being a functioning independent label, was also a front for the Genovese crime family in New York. And that made life real interesting for us. And so while we were moaning and hanky-panky, and in the background we had this very dark and sinister story going on behind us that we couldn't talk about. And so finally, I talked about it, and we wrote a book about it called Me, the Mob, and the Music. We were actually going to start out writing the book about. We were going to call it Crimson and Clover and write about the hits and so forth. But we realized early on that if we don't tell the whole story, which is the Roulette story, it really is the story, that we were cheating ourselves and everybody else. So I wrote it. I was nervous about doing it too, because some of these guys were still walking around. But we did it, and I don't think we overdid it or underdid it. I think we were very truthful the way we told the story. And also, of course, it's going to be made into a film. It's going to be produced by Barbara DeFina, who produced Goodfellas and Casino and Hugo a few years ago with Martin Scorsese, and we're very honored to have her as our producer. It's going to be directed by Kathleen Marshall, and the screenplay is written by Matthew Stone. So it's really going to be fun kind of watching all this come together, and we're probably looking at about another 18 months to 2 years before we actually, before it's turned into officially turned into a film and released. We're in the casting phase right now, and it's fun watching it all come together.
Well, what was it scary? Well, first of all, from what I've read, the mob kind of picked you, or do I have that wrong? Instead of you picking the mob, or do you want to go into detail about that? Doesn't matter.
I'm not sure which thing you're talking about. You mean about?
I forgot the names involved here, but didn't the people involved with the mob say to the other possible managers, "No, he's mine. You can't have him"?
Oh, well, that was the how the record itself, Hanky Panky, our first hit record, happened. Well, what happened is Hanky Panky broke out of Pittsburgh, totally unexpected to me. I was 18 years old, right out of high school, and this record that I had made 2 years before suddenly broke out of Pittsburgh, and was sitting at number one. They called me, they tracked me down. I went to Pittsburgh and did some shows there, and basically a week later we were in New York attempting to get signed with a major label and get Hanky Panky distributed all over the place. So we did. We went to New York, and all the record companies we went to gave us a thumbs up, said, yes, we want you. We got a yes from CBS, got a yes from Epic, Atlantic, and RCA, and all the majors back then. And the last place we took the record to was Roulette. And so I went to bed that night. This is May of '66. I went to bed that night feeling real good, like we were probably going to sign with CBS or Atlantic and one of the majors. And the next morning, I started getting calls from all the record companies that had said yes the day before, and saying, "Listen, Tom, we got to pass." I said, "What do you mean we got to pass? I thought we had a deal." And finally, Jerry Wexler up at Atlantic told us the truth, that Morris Levy, the head of Roulette Records, had called all the other labels and scared him to death. Morris was every bit a mobster. He was lined up with the Genovese family, and bottom line was that was how we ended up on Roulette Records. It was the first offer I couldn't refuse. We ended up on Roulette. And he called them all and said, "This is my artist. Back off." So Hanky Panky went with Morris, but Roulette turned it into a number one record in the country during the summer of 1966, and actually all over the world, in countries all over the world, it went number one. So, that's how the first record happened, and I guess that's the story you're talking about.
Yeah, wow, that's a story. Okay, I only have a couple of more questions, but my producer Tanner loves your song. I'm having a brain fart here. Not driving the line, dragging the line. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tommy. Tanner, you want to ask him a question?
Hey, Tommy. Yeah. So, Dragging the Line, great song. I love just the chorus and everything about it. It's my go-to song, driving and leaving work. But what do you mean by dragging the line?
Well, dragging the line to me was just, first of all, it followed the rhythm of the song. I just liked the way the words sounded. But dragging the line always meant, working a day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Just living your life a day at a time. There was no hidden meaning to it. It just sounded good. I loved the way the words worked with the rhythm of the song, and all that stuff just kind of played into it. We wrote it up at my farm in upstate New York. I don't think I could have written a song like that in the city. That was definitely a farm song. But
right.
At any rate, I wrote it with Bob King, my writing partner at the time, and we took it into the studio, and we made. It was weird how it was made, because we actually had the track before we had the lyrics, and put a little tape delay on the bass, and it was sounded very hypnotic, and we made about 100 tape loops to get it to sound like that.
Wow.
And so anyway, Dragon Line was a fun record to make.
That's exactly how I would have described it. Every day, that's why I play going and leaving work, just another day.
Right. Exactly right.
Also, we should point out, if your fans want to know where they can hear you, and you have your own Sirius radio show. Tell me about that.
Sure. Well, I have my own show called Getting Together. It's on Sirius XM radio. It is on channel 73, 60s Gold, and I'm on every Sunday from 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we've been doing this for 6 years now, and it's great way to stay in touch with the fans and tell everybody where we're working and what's going on, and all I can say is that it's a real thrill to do the show. I never did anything like that before I did this, and never worked that side of the microphone before. And I'm having a ball doing the show.
Besides your own great music, of course, what bands, what musicians do you personally like the most, and why?
Oh, brother. Oh, that's a tough one, because there's so many acts that I love. I think over the years, I'm friends with almost all the groups that worked during the 60s. The Rascals and I, for example, have been friends since day one. Flo and Eddie and all kinds of people. It's really hard to say. I don't really want to say I like this group more than that group, but the bottom line is that so many of these groups are my friends and people that I've worked with all these years.
Okay, and if people want to get in contact with you on Facebook, how can they do that?
Sure. I'm, of course, we're all over social media. We have our own website, just TommyJames.com, and you can check out our concert schedule and see where we're working. We're on Facebook, Tommy James and the Shondells. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are literally all over the place, so come and check us out.
Okay, we'll end it there. We'll do some editing, and we'll put in the trivia question that has nothing to do with you. So we just can end it there. Can I get you to do one more promo if you got a second
Sure.
here? Same thing as said before. I'm Tommy James. If you love oldies, like whatever ones you want to mention by you should listen to, I have my own website, and it has all sorts of music on it. I'd love it if you could just say you should listen to I Love Oldies. It's a tough one, iloveoldies.com.
Okay, let me try to get all this out. All right, iloveoldies.com. Okay. Oh, by the way, you want me to say your name?
If you want to, that'd be a plus. Sure.
How would you like me to word this? Tom James, if you like oldies, like blah, 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 listen to
Bill Jones and iloveoldies.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Hi, everybody. This is Tommy James, and if you like oldies like I do, like Crystal Blue, like Mony Mony, Crimson and Clover, Hanky Panky, and all the rest, be sure and listen to Bill Jones on Oh, shit. Can we edit that?
I can edit that. No problem. You're great. The oh shit. We'll keep the oh shit in there, though.
Bill Jones on I Love Oldies?
iloveoldies.com.
Okay, I'm going to try to make it match here.
Okay.
Be sure and listen to Bill Jones on iloveoldies.com.
Ta-da! Okay.
I think that'll work.
Tommy, that's fantastic. We will if we can get some tickets for that, and I'll
Just
email.
call Carol Ross, and I'll tell her you're going to be calling.
And we'll give away the tickets here, and hopefully help you promote it and get a big crowd for you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you much, Tommy.
You take care. Nice talking to you.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
How long was that?